My name is Jack. I'm 35 now, and if you'd asked me a year ago, I would have told you I had a good, solid life. My wife, Ava, and I had been married for almost a decade. We met way back in ninth grade, started dating in 10th, and we were pretty much inseparable after that. In high school, our relationship was well known. Everyone around us assumed we'd end up married. And sure enough, we did. We had one of those classic teenage love stories. Prom night, first time together, that kind of thing. After that, we couldn't get enough of each other. We made plans to get married, but agreed to wait until we were both done with college. But once college came, things began to shift. In high school, Ava had been seen as off-limits. She was with me, and the guys respected that. But in college, all bets were off. The moment we stepped into that new world, it was like a reset button got hit. New faces, new rules. Most guys didn't know we were a thing. And Ava? She started enjoying the attention. We had different majors, so we only saw each other at night after class and after I got off work. I started noticing she was a little more playful, more flirty. I'd catch glimpses of her on campus, walking and laughing with guys I didn't know. I never once saw her hanging out with other girls, only men. Still, I brushed it off. I figured she was just being social, and besides, she was mine. She always came home to me. We loved each other, right? We finished school, landed jobs, bought a house, and built what I thought was a decent life. We had some good years. But then one day, something happened that ripped the floor out from under me. It started on a regular Thursday. I was at my desk at work when Eliza from the mailroom dropped off a stack of files. One of them was for a project handled by a guy named Wilder Beckett. We had gone to high school together but hadn't stayed particularly close. As I skimmed the report, I spotted a glaring mistake. The numbers were off by about $3 million, a huge oversight. I had just reached for my calculator when Wilder came barreling into my office, looking like he had seen a ghost. I pointed out the error, and he thanked me, said I might have saved his job. He grabbed the file and rushed out. That night, I followed my usual Thursday routine. Ava worked late, payroll week at her office, so I stopped by Finn's bar for a burger and a beer. Just as I finished up, Wilder walked in. He spotted me and came over, told the bartender to put my tab on him as a thank you for earlier. We got to talking about work, old times, and life in general. Then he said something that stopped me cold. Jack, you're a good dude. I don't understand how you've put up with Ava's behavior all these years. I blinked. What are you talking about? He hesitated. Man, you really don't know? I pressed him. He tried to back off, but I wouldn't let him. That's when he dropped a bomb on me. Wilder told me Ava had a reputation, one that went back to high school. He said he had been with her. Not once. Not twice. Regularly. I was stunned. I demanded the truth, no sugarcoating. So he laid it all out. Apparently, just a couple weeks after prom, he walked into his cousin Henry's house and found Ava and Henry together. Instead of being embarrassed, they invited him to join. And he did. From there, it became routine. While I was at work or class, Ava was seeing Wilder, Henry, and a handful of others. When Henry got into a relationship, Ava moved on to Wilder again, and then to Theo, Owen. The list went on. Wilder swore he stopped seeing her once we got married. But the damage was done. I sat there in the booth, hearing all this, feeling like a fool. He even told me she was still seeing people, Max and Luke on Thursdays, Ethan on Tuesdays while I was out bowling. Wilder apologized and said he hoped I'd believe him. I finished my beer and stood up. Thanks for the drink, Wilder, I said. And thanks for telling me what no one else would. Driving home, I tried to tell myself it wasn't true. Ava loved me. She wouldn't do this. But a deeper part of me knew Wilder had nothing to gain by lying. He knew I'd find out if it wasn't true. And if he was making it up, we couldn't keep working together. I lay awake that night, pretending to sleep when Ava came home. She touched my arm, like always, offering me leftovers, probably from a dinner date she had before coming home. For the first time in my life, I felt nothing when she touched me. Just cold. The next morning, I was up early with the coffee made and paper in hand. Ava asked what was wrong. She said she'd come home excited to see me, and I had already gone to bed. I told her something I ate had upset my stomach. She smiled and said I'd have to make up for it later that night. At work, I called an old friend from high school, Leah, who now practiced corporate law. I didn't know what that meant exactly, but I asked him if he knew a good, aggressive divorce attorney. His reaction told me everything. He knew. He paused, then said, "So, you finally found out, huh?" I just nodded and said, "Yeah." I found out. It caught me off guard when Leo told me he had always known about Ava's behavior. I was still trying to process what I had just learned from Wilder. Leo paused for a moment on the phone, then gave me the name of a lawyer, Grant Foster. Said if I mentioned his name, Foster would make time for me. I followed his advice and gave Foster a call. He answered right away, and once I told him Leo had referred me, he asked if I could come by at 1 that afternoon. I said yes. Grant Foster did not beat around the bush. He laid out every option in front of me, from a calm, clean separation to a no-holds-barred scorched-earth divorce. Since our state was not a no-fault state, adultery could be used as legal grounds for divorce, but he made one thing clear: I needed hard evidence. Hearsay and gut feelings were not going to cut it. I asked him how I could get the kind of proof that would hold up in court, and he handed me the business card of a private investigator named Everett Sterling. His office was just across the street. Foster offered to give him a call to see if he could fit me in immediately. I told him to go ahead and said I wanted to move fast. I also asked Foster to get the divorce paperwork started. I would bring him the evidence later. Sterling was available, and within 10 minutes, he had a basic plan in place. The only catch? I had to keep everything exactly the same around Ava. That meant acting like nothing was wrong. No cold shoulders, no pulling away. I had to keep up appearances, even in the bedroom. Whatever your routine is, stick to it, he said. 3 or 4 times a week, whatever. It is not about love anymore. It is about building a case. She cannot sense anything has changed. Back at the office, I took a breath and called Ava. Every Friday night, we had a tradition of going out to dinner, so I told her I made a reservation at Troy. She sounded happy and said she was looking forward to it. While we were sitting at Troy, me picking at a plate of veal marsala, her swirling a glass of white wine with her pasta, Sterling's guys were in our house installing tiny cameras and audio equipment. He had told me not to touch anything once it was set up. You are going to be tempted to try and find the cameras, he warned me. Do not. If she catches you snooping, the whole thing falls apart. He added, there's a kill switch in the hallway closet if you really need to turn it off. But most folks forget to turn it back on. My advice? Leave it. Act confident, act in control. After dinner, I made a short video on my phone, narrating everything that had happened. Then I suggested we go out for drinks and maybe hit a dance floor. She declined. She said we should just go home, that she had plans for me. On the drive back, she slid over and unzipped my jeans, smiling as she leaned in close. Better not wreck the car, babe, she whispered. I would hate to bite anything important. It should have excited me, but it didn't. Not anymore. All I could think about was how many men she had probably done that exact same thing with over the past 10 years. Still, my body betrayed me. I let it happen. When we got home, she was already unbuttoning her top before we reached the bedroom. But I could not do it, not with the thought of being recorded. I walked into the closet and hit the kill switch. I even left my phone on the car seat so I would remember to turn everything back on later. Maybe Ava noticed. I do not know. But that night felt like a chore. Just going through the motions. Unfortunately, 1 round was not enough for her. She wanted more. So I went along with it. Then I faked being exhausted and rolled over. In the morning, I pulled on my running shoes like always and told Ava I was going for my regular 5-miler. She reminded me she would not be home when I got back, said she had a hair appointment from 9 to 2. She claimed she usually met up with the other women at the salon for lunch afterward. Could have been true, but after what I had heard from Wilder, I knew better. Before I left, I made sure the system was back on. Cameras, audio, everything. The switch only controlled the cameras. The audio devices and phone taps stayed on all the time. After my run, I went straight to the basement, opened the cabinet Sterling had set up, and started going through the footage. It did not take long. Morning, a man's voice said. We still good for today? Definitely. My husband thinks I am at the salon. We've got until 2. You sure you can't stay longer? I told you, Jack's already asking questions. I cannot push it. Then skip the hair appointment and get over here, the guy said. That was all I needed to hear. I recognized his voice right away. It was Sam, my cousin. That made it worse. When Ava got home, I was waiting. But I faked a fall down the basement stairs and told her I had pulled something in my back. It was the best excuse I could think of to get a break from the bedroom. Monday morning, I called her and told her I was leaving on a work trip from Tuesday to Friday. She said she would miss me and promised a romantic dinner when I got back. There was no work trip. I just wanted her to believe I was gone, to give the cameras a chance to catch everything. She got clingy that night, said she needed something to remember me by. But I turned her down, told her my back was still killing me. I do not think she believed me, but she let it go. Tuesday morning, I packed a bag and left the house like I was heading to the airport. I drove around for a bit, then parked a block away and opened my laptop. A few clicks, and I was connected to the surveillance system. "Hey," she said on the phone. "He just left. You ready for me?" The man's voice responded, "Do ducks walk barefoot on the beach?" She laughed. "I will call Liam. I've got to get out of here. Be home by 6. I shut the laptop, pulled out my phone, and called Grant Foster. "Get the papers ready. Serve her Thursday, just like we discussed." Foster said that method would cost a little extra. I told him I did not care. Then I drove across town and checked into a little motel with a bar next door, a good spot to lay low for a few days. It was a quiet, country western place with a jukebox full of two-step and slow songs. Just the kind of place I needed. That night, I met a redhead named Jenna. She pulled me out of my seat and onto the dance floor. "Do not get the wrong idea, sugar," she said. "I just like to dance." We danced. She introduced me to her friends. And for the first time since hearing Wilder's confession, I felt something almost like peace. The next afternoon, I went back to my truck, parked a block from the house, and reviewed the footage. 2 men, both clearly younger than Ava. She brought them into our bedroom like it was routine. There was no emotion in it. No romance. Just going through the steps. The visuals weren't what got to me, it was the audio. She never mentioned me. Never even said my name. I thought she would badmouth me, talk about how I was failing her. But nothing. Not a single insult. That was almost worse. Ava kept telling those guys that I was her main focus, but I overheard her giving them strict instructions. They had to be out of the house by 6 o'clock sharp. She said it was to avoid the neighbors, who were not early risers. Sure enough, they left exactly on time, Wednesday and Thursday mornings, so I figured Friday would be the same. I called my lawyer first thing Thursday and told him to shift the process server's schedule. The new plan was to have Ava served with the divorce papers at 5:45 a.m. Friday, right before the guys left. So, Friday morning, I parked my rental car a few houses down around 5:55. I watched from a distance as the front door opened, and those 2 men stepped out. They turned around to say goodbye, and there she was, standing in the doorway. That was the exact moment the process server walked up and handed her the papers. Her face dropped, and the guy stood there dumbfounded. Right after that, I rolled up, stopped the car out front, gave her a wave, laid on the horn for a second, and then drove off. No words. Just closure. Inside the envelope was a letter from me, simple and direct. I told her I never wanted to speak to her again unless it was through attorneys. I made it crystal clear. I did not care why she did it. I did not want to hear about how she still loved me, or that it meant nothing, or that we could work through this. I did not want another cliché-filled plea for forgiveness. I just wanted out. Of course, she ignored it. Not even 15 minutes later, my phone started ringing. It was her. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Then again. 7 times before I even got to work. Once I arrived, I spoke with my assistant Nora. I told her that under no circumstance should she let Ava through to me, no calls, no messages. I also told her that if Ava showed up in person, to say I was out meeting with a client and to stall her long enough for me to slip out the back. She nodded and said, "Got it." I also checked in with Corey at the reception desk. Told her the same thing. If Ava showed up, call me and hold her at the desk. I duck out the side and head over to the cafe down the block until she left. By noon, Ava had called me 17 times. I ignored every single one. Around lunch, I called my dad and my brother to fill them in. I asked my dad to break the news to Mom gently and to ask her not to try and talk me into reconciling. He sighed and said, "That won't be easy. Your mother always thought of Ava as the daughter she never had." By 5, I was still at the office finishing up some backlogged work. Nora poked her head in and said, "Your wife called 5 more times before noon." I stuck to the script. I think she finally got the message. She hasn't called since. I wrapped up around 7. Corey had already clocked out, but Clay, the night security guy, waved to me as I stepped into the lobby. "Hot date with the missus tonight?" he asked, joking. I raised an eyebrow. "Why do you say that?" "She's outside," he said. "Parked next to your car." "Clay, we're divorcing." "She's trying to talk, but I've got nothing to say. If she knocks on the door, don't open it. If she hits the intercom, tell her no one else is in the building. My car's staying in the lot overnight. Tell her it broke down and a tow truck is coming in the morning." Clay gave me a knowing nod. "Got it. Been through 2 divorces myself. I'll handle it." I slipped out the back, circled around the block, and walked down the alley to Benny's diner. From my booth, I could see Ava pacing near my car. I ordered the house special and kept my eyes on her. Around dessert time, she approached the building and rang the intercom. She must have gotten the message from Clay, because she stood there for a minute, then returned to her car and drove away. I finished my pie, had a second cup of coffee, and then headed into the bar next door. Had a couple of beers, nothing heavy. Some women were there solo, probably hoping to find a dance partner, but I just kept to myself and left. Saturday, I hit the ground running. There were things I should have taken care of before serving Ava, and I hoped I wasn't too late. First stop, the bank. I withdrew everything from our joint accounts, grabbed my own paperwork and certificates from the safe deposit box, and left all of her stuff untouched. I also took off my wedding band and placed it in the box. Let her find it. Next, I hit up the Waffle House and used the time over breakfast to cancel every joint credit card we had. I left myself with a Visa and an American Express, both under my name only. She had a couple of her own cards, so I was not leaving her stranded, just making sure she could not bleed me dry through shared accounts. After that, I returned to the motel, parked the car, and called a cab to take me to the nearest car rental office. I grabbed the cheapest sedan they had, then went back and laid low at the motel pool with a good book. That evening, I flipped my phone back on. 9 voicemails from Ava. I deleted them all without listening. The bar was livelier than usual with a live band that drew a solid crowd. I took a seat at the bar and had barely touched my beer when I felt a light tug on my sleeve. It was Jenna. "Cowboy, what are you doing sitting here all alone when we saved you a seat?" she asked, grinning. "If I had seen you first," I said, "I might have been too shy to ask." "Come on, now," she said, taking my arm. No excuses. At the table, Emma and Kate were already laughing and sipping wine. I sat down and said, "All right, this looks a little odd. 3 beautiful women at a table by themselves. How come the whole bar isn't swarming you?" Emma groaned. "Because most of the guys here are jerks. They assume we're looking to cheat. We're not. We just like to dance. And we're picky about who we share our floor with." "You passed the test," Kate said. "We know a good one when we see one." I nodded. "Hope you don't mind me asking, but why are 3 married women out here on your own?" Jenna explained. "Emma's husband's overseas, Army Reserve. She was losing her mind at home. Kate's guy works the night shift. Mine's a trucker, always on the road. We look out for each other, come here to unwind." "And you?" Kate asked, eyeing my hand. "Last time you were here, you had a ring on." "I did," I said. "Handed my wife divorce papers yesterday. Left the ring for her to find." Emma raised an eyebrow. "So are you free now?" "Nope," I said plainly. "This is all legal business. Infidelity was the reason, and I'm not giving her any reason to twist things around." Kate smiled. "Even better. That means we have a respectful dance partner." We danced until the place shut down. I promised to see them Sunday. I kept things quiet through the weekend. Monday, I drove my rental car to work again, not wanting Ava to catch on. She must have, though. That night, she was waiting beside my real car. When I came out, she blocked my door. "We need to talk," she said. I tried to move past her. She didn't budge. I gave her a gentle push, just enough to make her step aside. I rolled down the window. "You've got my letter," I told her. "Any conversation we have will go through lawyers. I have nothing else to say." "I don't want a divorce," she said, starting to cry. "I don't want to lose you." I shook my head. "It's over, Ava. You made your choice." And with that, I rolled up the window and drove off. The next day, it got worse. As I walked to my car after work, those 2 guys, the ones from our bedroom, approached me. One grabbed each arm. "You're coming with us," one of them said. "Ava wants to talk, and since you won't pick up, we're bringing you to her." I sized them up. Probably a few years younger than me. Dressed casual. They thought I was soft because I wore a suit. They were wrong. I thought about fighting back. But then I paused. If I did, what would Ava try next? They shoved me into my own car and drove me home. Inside, they forced me into a chair and stood guard behind me while Ava spoke. "You're not leaving me," she said calmly. "There will be changes, sure, but we're staying married." I started to stand, and the guys pushed me right back down. "You're going to accept this," she continued. "You know about my condition now, and I'm sorry you had to find out the way you did. But this is who I am." She paused for a moment. "I have nymphomania," she said. Ava claimed her condition had started back in high school, saying it all began after I took her virginity. I rolled my eyes and told her there were medications out there that could help with what she was describing. She said she had tried every one the doctors gave her, but none worked. According to her, they just dulled her down, made her feel like a zombie. She admitted she did not want to stop. She actually enjoyed the constant need for physical closeness. Then she said something that just about knocked the wind out of me. She told me she had drawn up a new postnuptial agreement. It basically allowed her to sleep with as many men as she needed for her mental health. If I did not like it, the contract said I would walk away from the marriage without a penny. I asked her what she thought I was getting out of this deal. The same loving wife you've had the last 6 years, she said. I have always come home to you, haven't I? I have always loved you. She went on, saying that I was a good man, even a great lover, but that I could not keep up with her appetite. Not her fault, not mine, just how she was wired. She made it sound like I was being selfish for not accepting it. I called her by her full name, which she hated, and told her I might be willing to consider signing something like that, but with changes. I told her I wanted more connection from her, more closeness, more of her in our bed. She said she could not promise that. So, feeling a bit defeated but still not thinking clearly, I agreed to look at the document. When I tried to stand, her 2 hired thugs blocked my path. I said I needed the bathroom. One of them, with zero shame, told me I could go in the chair if I had to. He said Ava did not want me to leave the room. Ava walked back in a few minutes later holding the contract and read it out loud. Then she handed me a pen. I asked her to tell the guys to let me up, and she did. I stood up, set my briefcase on the table, took the pen, and started reading. After a few minutes, I laughed. Then I tore the whole thing up and tossed the pieces at her feet. As I headed to the door, Ava screamed for the guys to stop me. They lunged. The first guy came close. I clocked him right across the side of the head with my briefcase. Down he went. The second one rushed in, and I nailed him right in the jaw with a punch. He staggered back, and I followed it with a hard kick to his groin. He dropped, moaning. But I didn't stop there. I kept hitting and kicking them both, ribs, legs, head, making sure they stayed down. Then I heard Ava screaming, "Stop, or I'll shoot." I looked up. She had a pistol pointed right at me. I stared her down. "Go ahead," I said. "Pull the trigger." Instead, I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and dialed 911. I gave the dispatcher my name, the address, and calmly said, "My wife is holding me at gunpoint." They told me to remain calm and stay on the line. I ended the call. "Thanks, Ava," I said sarcastically. "You just sped up our divorce." She sneered. "You idiot. When the cops get here, you'll be the one going to jail." I laughed. "For what? You're the one holding the gun. And you had your goons bring me here by force." "You're just mad that I love other men," she shouted. I shook my head. "No, I'm mad because you lie. And I never gave you permission to treat me like a hostage." She kept yelling. "They'll never believe you. You came here on your own. You attacked my friends." I reminded her that 2 people from my office saw them grab me. And the whole thing, her pulling a gun, the threats, the fights, was likely on camera or audio thanks to the private investigator. Just then, red and blue lights lit up the windows. I smiled. "Looks like your party's over." She tried to twist the story, of course. Said I attacked her guests in a jealous rage. But that plan crumbled fast. After my lawyer, Grant, got involved, he worked with the investigator, Everett Sterling. They handed over video and audio of everything. Ava holding the gun, her talking about her plan to lie, and even her telling her friends what to say. That Monday, Ava walked into court thinking she was attending my bail hearing. Instead, she got arrested. Later that day, warrants were issued for Dylan and Liam, her 2 goons. They were behind bars before the sun went down. I refused to pay Ava's bail. Her parents could not afford it either. Her attorney called, asking if I would use the house as collateral for her release. I hung up. I moved back into my house. Changed every lock. My lawyer also filed a restraining order. Ava was barred from coming within 100 feet of me. Even if I had wanted to forgive her, which I didn't, the risk of her snapping again was too high. Dylan and Liam folded quickly. They took plea deals and turned on Ava. She tried to say the gun was just for show, that she was only trying to protect her friends and stop me from hurting them. But the jury saw right through it. They found her guilty on multiple charges: false imprisonment, filing a false report, and unlawful restraint. She dodged the felony menacing charge barely, but the judge still sentenced her to 9 months in county jail, plus a hefty amount of community service. While she was behind bars, the divorce went through cleanly. I gave her 20% of the equity from the house, transferred the cash to her bank, and that was the last financial tie between us. To celebrate, I went back to the bar near the motel. Jenna and Kate were there again. Emma was not. Her husband had come home from overseas. Jenna smiled and asked, "Why the grin?" I shrugged. "Well, I just got my freedom back." Kate teased, "Is that so? And why celebrate with us?" I looked at Jenna. I noticed something. Emma and Kate were wedding bands. You never have. And there's no tin line where one used to be. My guess? There's no long-haul trucker husband. Kate burst out laughing. "Girl, you've been caught." I reached out and took Jenna's hand. "May I have this dance?" She stood. "Only if you can keep up, cowboy." And just like that, I stepped onto the dance floor with a smile on my face for the first time in a long, long time.